So, hi everyone. It's a pleasure to be able to present to you today. I've been lucky enough to participate in the past couple of years in the youth training course. What does the European Medicines Agency, so the EMA, what do we do? So, in a nutshell, basically, we are looking at the assessment and approval of medicines for the whole of Europe. We also offer advice to facilitate the development plans of the medicines. And of course, we always carry on monitoring the medicines once they get to the market to make sure they're safe and they work as we had expected them to. And we also have to make sure that we provide clear and understandable information, written information, then for everyone so that they know what are these recommendations and outcomes that we've come up with. So in Europe, there are two ways that medicines can be authorized. They can either be through the centralized procedure, which is what we do at EMA. This is where companies come for a marketing authorization, and if they get it, then it means that this medicine can be sold in any country in the European Union. The other way is where for certain medicines, they go just to one or two individual countries' health authorities and ask for an approval that way. You can see here, this is all of the different areas where they are actually legally obliged to come to EMA for the approval. So you can see that for most of medicines today, they have to come to EMA for an approval. The way that the EMA works is it's in what we call a regulatory network. So there are more than 50 regulatory authorities throughout all EU member states, and they participate in our work. They are members of all of our committees, so they all sit together and assess the various dossiers, we call them, for the new medicines, and they discuss and then they vote on the outcome. So it's really a European Union network working together for the outcomes. Once we come out with our recommendations, these are then sent to the European Commission for what we call the rubber stamp, the final approval. The ethos really has been and is always at the EMA what we call multi-stakeholder engagement or discussions. It really is important that all of our work we do, we involve all of the different stakeholders. And this is not only patients, but also academia, healthcare professionals, industry. We need to know from everyone what is happening in their particular areas. It's only by talking together we can make sure that we have all aspects of the particular things under discussion, that we can really make sure that we come up with more meaningful outcomes. So obviously what I'm going to be talking mainly about today is patient engagement, which today at the EMA, after some time, is now really a core, integral part of our work, part of the everyday business. And you can see here that it's taken some time to get to where we are today, and I think that's been important because we've grown, and along the way we've learned together with our patient representatives which are the best ways to engage together to make sure it's beneficial for everyone and that they're getting involved in the ways that are compatible with them to be able to share information with us. So you can see over the years that we've got different working groups and frameworks and things like that, and public hearings and different ways of getting involved to really expand the way that we do it and refine it. And you can see here, in 2017, we also adopted our principles on engaging young people, and which includes those under 18, so we can also make sure we have their voice in the assessments as well. Now here you can really just see, this is a graphic which shows the medicine's life cycle, the medicine's regulatory life cycle. So pre-submission, this is what I was mentioning, the advice, or the it might be an orphan designation or a pediatric investigation plan. These are things that happen before the company submits the application for a marketing authorization. Then we have all the things going on during the evaluation of that dossier, and then we have post-authorization once the medicine is out there and being used. And along here you can see the little figures. This is where patients are involved, and these acronyms are really the names of all the different committees and the different activities. So this was just to show you, not that I'm going to go into detail here, but just to show you that they are involved along the whole life cycle. It wouldn't make sense for them to be involved just at the end or just at the beginning. It needs to be all the way along. And the way they get involved can also mean what they are representing. So we have members on our management board and on the committees as voting members. And when they do that, they represent the whole patient community. But other times, like our Patients and Consumers Working Party or consultations that we have on general aspects or workshops, then the patients come representing their own organization or their own disease area. But then other times when it's more on the individual medicines assessment, so perhaps scientific advice procedures where we're giving advice to companies on their development plan, expert meetings where the committees convened a meeting discussing one of the medicines, a consultation in writing, or reviewing documents to make sure they're clear for the audience, then you would be participating as individual patient experts. And it's important, depending on the different activities, what the kind of representation is. Now, there are quite a lot of opportunities for patients, and especially young patients, to get involved at EMA. So you could be invited to come into one of our scientific advice procedures, which is the ones I mentioned, where we're giving advice to the companies, and let us know, does that clinical trial design sound feasible to you? Does it feel like something you would get involved in yourself? Does it seem like they're addressing the improvements that you would expect in a medicine? So things like that. Maybe one of the committees is having an expert group meeting and they would invite you, and that would be discussing a particular medicine that they're assessing. Maybe we would do a written consultation with you, a questionnaire. There may be a bigger stakeholder meeting where we're involving also healthcare professionals and patients together, or it might be reviewing one of the documents, the packaged leaflets, or a safety communication, where we really need to make sure that it's understandable for everyone, no matter what education or age. They need to be able to understand it if they want to read it. And we also have public hearings, and of course anybody can come to one of our public hearings. So what we've learned along the way as well in terms of what are kind of vital elements for engagement. And one aspect is to have a flexible approach to the different methodologies, different ways to engage. So as you heard earlier, there are ways like face-to-face, and that really helps you get in-depth discussions back and forth, and you can ask each other questions and really delve in deep on the issues under discussion. Other times we might not have time, we might need to do it in writing, or we might need to do a survey where we want to really reach out to as many patients as we can. You may be invited to a committee meeting. This is in front of the panel so they can really hear you directly. Or we might be doing a patient preference study where we ask preferences on benefits versus risks. Now, in order to make sure this all can actually happen, you need to be properly supported and understand what is expected of you and understand what the EMA does, what is the particular activity you're coming into, what are the issues under discussion. So for this, we have various tools for training and support. We have an annual training day, we have information sheets on our website, as well as videos, voiceovers, we have dedicated web pages, and of course, when you do get involved, we will give you that one-to-one support, so you know that there's someone there who might give you a call, or you can send an email to if you've got any questions, but they'll support you throughout. We're not just going to dump you in the deep end and hope you just get on with it. I don't think that would be good for anyone. So this is just showing you some of the networks that we work for, and really we are so grateful to all of these organizations and individuals, because without them and their voluntary work, we wouldn't be able to get any of the valuable input that we have. So you can see here, this is some of the European organizations we work with, and they register with us. But we also have a database where individual patients or carers can also register, and then you could be contacted for involvement. But you can also opt to receive information in your disease area on anything new coming up from EMA, if you like. So obviously we have to make sure that we can ensure the reliability and the independence of those patient experts coming to get involved. You know, we're out there under scrutiny from many to make sure we do this properly. So we have in place for organizations, we have what we call the eligibility criteria, and obviously EPF is one of our eligible organizations, so they have to meet these criteria as well. And there are a number of elements to the criteria, but the key thing is about transparency, and especially on the funding, and really just to make sure they're non-for-profit, that patients' activities are at the center of their work, etc. Then on the other side, we have for the individual experts, so when they want to get involved in an EMA activity, they have to fill out what we call a declaration of interest. And this is just to explain whether you've had any interactions with any pharmaceutical company. So it's an online form, and you also sign then the confidentiality agreement so that we can then share all of this confidential information with you, so you have the same information as anyone else when you're coming to get involved. So all of this is what we call handling competing interests. And as I mentioned earlier, it's really to ensure that all of the experts and staff and the management board don't have any financial or other interests that could potentially affect their impartiality. So we just need to make sure that everyone, it really doesn't have any other conflicting interests. So the way that we do this is the declaration of interest, which is an online form that you fill in, and it has a CV with it. So you can tick that you are a patient representative. Once this has been validated, it's valid for a whole year. So you only have to do one every year. And it includes the confidentiality undertaking within it. So there's not another form for that. And all of these are published on our website. This just shows you what the form looks like, some part of it. So you can see these are the kind of things you have to tick. Yes, no, yes, no. Are you employed by a company? Have you had any consultancy with them? Have you been talking to any companies? Any interaction with them is considered consultancy, just so you know. It could be a strategic advisory or financial interest if people have shares. Investigators, this generally tends to be for companies. Also close family members. So anything in there, you have to just be very honest and explain if you have any involvement or not. And then it's evaluated to see whether or not you can get involved in the various activities. So just to conclude, and really just to kind of encourage you as to why it's really important to get involved with the regulators, with EMA, or even your national health authorities, because when you get involved, you bring the aspects that you know better, which is living with a condition on a daily basis. What are the unmet needs? What are the things you face? What treatments are you looking for? What benefits are you looking from a treatment? And maybe what risks are you willing to accept in return for those benefits? And those are the things that you can bring into the scientific discussions. And that means it bridges the gap that may be there between the clinical trial data that we already have and then what we call real world data. So the actual experience of those who have the condition. So it's really important that you can come and share all of this so that we make sure we have all aspects of data on the table when we're making those important decisions on whether or not to make a medicine available for you, making sure that it is safe and useful. Doing this is also increases transparency, awareness, and understanding. So by getting involved, you can also understand better how EMA works, how medicines get discussed. What is this whole thing about weighing up those benefits and risks of a particular medicine? And we need to work together to make sure that this engagement is mutually beneficial. So you need to feel that you've come away with something as well. So it's not just about us taking all the information, but you need to feel you got something out of it as well. And some tips for you, I would just say, be prepared before you get involved. Know what you're getting involved in, what is the issue that is going to be discussed in whatever activity you're doing. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Make sure you understand your role and what people are expecting of you, and try and provide relevant information. So understand what are the issues under discussion, and then think what information from a patient viewpoint can you then contribute to that discussion that can be constructive, that people could actually use that and it can make a difference to their outcomes. And also try and be as representative as you can. So if you know that other patients and you've discussed with them also feel like that, then you can also say, well, I've spoken with my friends, my family members, my other patients that I know, and they also feel in the same way, or they don't. It's important just to know whether this is your own opinion or it's the opinion of lots of others as well. So just to say, everyone has a role to play to make sure that engagement happens. So don't hesitate to approach the authorities. They should be open to listen to you and get you involved, because at the end of the day, having all that data means better and more meaningful outcomes for everyone involved. Better medicines, better treatments, and better use of our time to get those good medicines out there for you. So I think that's the end of my presentation, that is. So I'm very happy to answer any questions that you may have. If I come back to this bit here, hopefully, there we go. So hopefully it was interesting. It was obviously a lot to cover. I hope I didn't speak too fast. Very happy to answer any questions now or later. You have my email address on the last slide, so please don't hesitate to contact me. If you've got any questions or if you want to register with us, we can send you the application form. We can share the web pages with you. Just let us know how we can help. Thank you.